Hey everyone, this is Julie Rasmussen. I'm the Express Offers Program Manager here at eXp Realty, and today we have Terry Jeffries,
Hi guys, good morning.
and we have our newest team member is Tina Gonzalez. She's going to officially start helping all of you on June 1st, and it's pretty exciting because she'll have hours like office hours every day of the week in the XP
Good
world.
morning. How is everyone?
And then we have our special guest today, who is Kyle Donning.
Hey guys.
So I'm going to just tell you guys briefly, I'm going to go over, actually this is on their website so you guys can see the same thing, but LVN Real Estate is locally owned, Denver, Colorado-based business that provides real estate solutions and buys houses of all types in most of Colorado, including Denver, Greeley, North Colorado, Colorado Springs, and more. We are veteran-owned and operated and take pride in doing things the right way. We take distressed properties and help sellers find solutions to their problems, rehab the properties, which improves local neighborhoods, and ultimately provide families a great place to call home. It's no easy undertaking and something that they don't do lightly. And I like their mission statement too, which is to give homeowners an alternative selling option and make the home selling process quick and easy by providing a fair cash purchase price or other solution to solve any home-related situation. I like that it's a veteran-owned business, Kyle. So were you actually in the military, or is it one of your partners?
I was in the military for 6 years. I was in the Air Force.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah,
Your
thank you
service.
very much for your service. We appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, our project manager is also a veteran as well, and he was in the Army.
Nice. Well, we appreciate that. And I also saw that you guys are in the Better Business Bureau, and I thought that was smart too, because that means that you guys are very serious about the quality that you do.
That's right. Yep. Those reviews help greatly, and you know, we strive to serve as best as we can, so we get positive reviews and people think highly of us.
Well, we think highly of you, and we really appreciate you. So I wanted to say Kyle is physically living in the Denver area, but he also buys in Colorado, Wyoming, and North Carolina. And Kyle, I was going to say, would you mind letting us know, what you're looking for in those areas? So maybe we start with Wyoming. So maybe neighborhoods that you particularly like, or areas of town that you would like to focus on. And I'm just asking that in case any of the agents listening decide that they want to do some prospecting for you.
For sure. Yeah. In Wyoming, we just buy in Cheyenne. If it's somewhere close to Cheyenne, we would take a look at it, but primarily we're looking for Cheyenne homes. That's where our contractors are. And we went in there probably, we started doing business up there probably a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago now. And just because we were already doing stuff in northern Colorado, and really it's not that much farther north. I think people think it's really far away, but it's really not.
It's like an hour, right? Outside of, I think, when you leave Fort Collins.
Yeah, about an hour, or less. But so some of our contractors that we've already had going in Weld County and Larimer were willing to drive up there because it wasn't that much farther for them, and so it just kind of worked out. And we got a couple projects going up there, and definitely looking for more.
And I think there's an Air Force base too. Sorry, because you
were Julie. I was just going to ask him before. So Kyle, before you move on to a different state, tell us a little bit about your sweet spot. What is like your perfect house in Cheyenne? What should agents be looking for in Wyoming?
So I mean, our purchase price is definitely it's lower there than it is down in Colorado for sure, because the price points are lower. So I would say we're typically in the mid-hundreds buying. Like I'm looking at some of our properties here, our purchase prices that we have in inventory right now. One we bought for 95, one we bought for 140. Let's see, got a couple up there at the moment. I think we have 4 rehabs going up there right now. One we bought for 160. So I would say we're in the mid-hundreds. Usually you don't see properties selling for much more than 300 up there, depending where they're at. So I would say our sweet spot's in the mid-hundreds, maybe pushes to 200 if you have a higher end house that, goes for a little bit more.
And how quick can you close?
Usually 7 days is on the fast end, just for title work and getting everything in line. But we prefer 2-week closes, but we can bump that up if needed. I mean, we've closed in a few days before.
So if we're talking to our Wyoming agents, basically, if they've got a seller who needs convenience and it's somewhere in the 160-ish and under range, they basically could go to that appointment with a checkbook in their back pocket. Would you agree?
Yes, for
Your
sure.
checkbook.
Yes, for sure. Yes, for
Well,
sure.
here's something on his buy box too. His offer range is actually 0 to 350,000.
Yeah.
In Wyoming.
Yeah, yeah. We just don't come across those properties too often that are that expensive. Those price points just don't really exist up there, at least for the type of houses that we're buying. We're buying single family homes. That's your average starter home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath type of house, 2,000 square feet, and they're selling in the mid 200s typically.
Yeah. So before we move out of Wyoming, again, I'm just curious. So if you, so where you said you're working on 4 projects there now, where'd you get those leads? Where'd you get those properties?
So we do a lot of direct to seller marketing. So we work with agents as well, but and wholesalers, but we do a lot of direct to seller stuff. So we're sending out mail, we're calling people, we put door hangers on houses. We do all the typical direct to seller stuff.
And can you tell us a little bit about what do you think your best response is? Where are you getting like the people are going, yeah, I want to talk to you about that. What's your messaging?
I get that question all the time, and really there's not one particular way that's like, oh yeah, this is like the clear way to get to people. It's a combination of being consistent and doing all the marketing. You don't have to do everything, obviously, because it costs a lot of money to do everything. And so I recommend people that are starting out, pick one avenue and go towards it. And the cheapest way is cold calling and sending text messages typically. And so if you're pulling lists and you're looking up homeowners and you skip trace them, get their phone numbers, you can just call them, and that's almost free. It costs a little bit of money to skip trace people, but it's almost free. But for us in particular, we're doing the whole gamut to feed the machine. And so, there's a lot of marketing that goes out, and the deals come from all over the place.
So what do you think the population of Cheyenne is?
I think it's 100,000. Somewhere around there.
So are you doing the shotgun approach where you're kind of trying to touch all that 100,000, or are you dividing it up like by neighborhoods or price points or demographics, or is there any kind of methodology to your messaging?
For sure. Yeah, it's more demographics. It's more how long have they lived there? Like have they been there? Typically the people that are selling to us have been there 10 plus years. And so we'll filter out home ownership length. How long have you been there? We'll filter out equity. Do they have equity? It's not mandatory. Like we can structure creative deals, but generally we want to see equity there for these homeowners. Distress points, like there's a lot of distress points that we go after. Maybe it's in probate. Maybe there's a divorce. The absentee owners that live out of state are people that sell often from our marketing.
Kind of armchair investors.
What's that?
The people that live out of state, kind of the armchair investors.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like they just haven't been there forever. They've owned the house for a long time, and a lot of what we see a lot of times is they have tenants in there. The tenants stop paying, they trash the place, and they're just done with it. And they're just like, get this property off my hands. I don't want to fix it. I don't want to deal with it. Like, what can you pay? And let's get it done. Like we see that all the time.
So that's a good niche market. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And we'll come over and we'll come in and like we're buying a 4-unit in Cheyenne right now. And it has all kinds of management problems and bad tenants, way below market, totally distressed. They haven't done anything for, 20 years, let's say. And so we're buying that. We're taking over their headaches. We're coming in, we're taking over the tenants. We'll reposition the property. We'll get it fixed up, we'll get rents up, and we'll do all the hard work that this seller doesn't want to do. Because, quite frankly, it's tough.
Let's go one step further on that topic, because that seems to be the conversation of the day, right? A lot of the states are lifting the moratoriums. A lot of tenants haven't been paying rent for a very long time. The eviction process, in order for them to catch up, is going to be months. So in your 4-unit scenario, let's say 3 out of those 4 tenants aren't paying rent. What are you going to do with a property like that? Or what could you tell agents that have a seller with a situation where tenants haven't been paying rent? Will investors like you take on those properties?
100%. We'll take it on.
Tell me how.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, for me, I'm down in Denver. So step one for me is getting a property manager involved that can turn the place around. And so in this particular situation, their property manager is someone that lives there, right? And so they're collecting the rent and paying the landlord, but she lives there and she lives there for free. How much is she really doing? Not a lot, right? So like that, we gotta stop that right away. Okay, so she's got to start paying rent and get up to market, and we're going to take over and we're going to start managing the property properly because she's not. And so that's step one for me. If the tenants don't comply, step two for me is hiring an attorney. I'm going to hire an attorney and I'm going to let them go through the eviction process. And I think hiring professionals is the key. Like, I'm not going to come in there and try to do that stuff myself. I'm going to just hire the people that know how to do it, know how to handle the situation, and can take care of it for me.
Oh, that's great advice. That's great advice. So what happens? I mean, I know I'm in Illinois, and I know and I've got investment properties. My kids have investment properties, and we do have one unruly tenant who has chosen not to pay rent.
Yeah.
And we are in the same frame of mind as you. Hire the professionals that can take care of that. So the call was made to the attorney last week, and the attorney said, "Yeah, well, the moratorium isn't going to be up until August. There's absolutely nothing I can do."
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you hearing that same thing or no?
Well,
I'm a little off topic here. Sorry.
Yeah, in Colorado, it's more strict. In Wyoming, it's more landlord friendly. Colorado is more tenant friendly at this point. Like, the laws have been changing here, and so it's not ideal for Colorado investors. But in this particular case, for me, they're on month-to-month leases, and so they're not locked into year leases, and so I can get them out of there whenever I need to with a 30-day notice.
Yeah, that's unusual.
Yeah, that is unusual.
Yeah. I mean, I see it. Yeah. Well, it's believe it or not, it's not like when you have these out-of-state landlords that just don't manage the property, they have tenants that are there for years on month to month, and it just because they're not managing it, so it just turns into month to month, or there's no leases at all. Like, there's just nothing. We see that a lot too.
Wow. So, okay, I'll ask one more question about Wyoming and then I'll be quiet. So, formula. What kind of formula should agents be paying attention to in order to serve you up properties that meet your profitability and your margins?
Yeah, so in Wyoming, it's a little bit more conservative on the formula than it is in Colorado, and that's because there's more closing costs for us. There's a lot more seller credits when we close, and so generally we're covering a lot of their mortgage fees. That's just standard up there, and so our closing costs are a lot more expensive. So our formula that we look at in Cheyenne, roughly, and this can go both directions, but roughly we want to buy at 75% of the after repair value minus repairs. So that would look like if the property is worth $100,000 fixed up in great condition, we want to buy it at $75,000, and if it needs $10,000 worth of rehab, let's say it needs a paint job, we want to buy it at $65,000.
Okay,
so
good.
That's roughly what we want to buy at in Cheyenne.
Right.
Could we go up depending on the situation? Could we go down depending on the situation? Yes. Like if it's a really easy rehab and it's what we call a lipstick, we can bump those numbers up. If it's a really intensive rehab where we're coming in doing structural work and just dealing with bad tenants and there's just a whole lot of headaches, we may want to go down on that. It's not set in stone.
Right, but what I'd love for you to do, Kyle, is validate the fact that there are sellers that are willing to take that big of a haircut. I think a lot of times when agents look at this program at first blush, they say, there's no sellers that are going to take 75% of their value. They're not going to give that money away. Yeah. We will tell you there aren't there?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, we buy a lot of houses every month, every year, and there's always people selling for a discount, and they're willing to trade their headache for a haircut on their equity. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. They're trading their problems. They're giving them to me, and they know I'm going to make a profit. And I tell agents and whoever, wholesalers, whoever I work with, I tell them that, hey, you're going to give away equity. you could probably make more if you go do this yourself, but are you willing to go through this process? Are you willing to come in here and do what I do every single day? And they're just not, like it takes a lot of capital, and there's a lot of headaches along the way. And so people are willing to sell at a discount to not have those headaches and just be like, all right, you can give me my money in 2 weeks and I don't got to do anything. All right. Yeah, I'll trade. I know you're gonna make money, but that's fine. Like that's how it goes.
So people are basically, oh, sorry, Julie, I'll be quiet, I promise. So basically, Kyle, people are willing to trade convenience. I mean, they see the value in that convenience of being able to just go, okay, I'm done. You have it. I don't want to deal with it anymore. There's value in that for a lot of people, wouldn't you say?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And it all comes back to that marketing. And that's why we're trying to find these distressed sellers. We're trying to find these out-of-state owners. We're trying to find these people that have issues and take care of them for them. And that's how we run our business. That's how we make money.
And that's what the program does.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're a good fit for you as well. But I was going to say the last thing about Wyoming is I saw the formula we have in all of your buy boxes is actually 80% ARV minus repairs.
Yeah.
So we may want to adjust that, or maybe there are some cases where it's actually.
Yeah. I mean, if there's an 80% deal, send it over. Like
Okay.
I'm not saying it's a no.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move to Colorado then.
Okay.
Any particular sweet spots? Are you kind of more in the northern area then? Or I saw you went all the way down to Colorado Springs. You don't come to my side, unfortunately, but you go down to Colorado Springs.
Yeah. We're pretty much, I would say, within like an hour and a half radius of Denver Metro.
Okay.
So most of our deals are in Denver Metro. Most of the stuff we do is Denver Metro, and mainly the suburbs. Like we're doing stuff in Aurora, Arvada, Lakewood, like those surrounding Denver cities is where we do most of our stuff. Of course, we buy a lot of properties in Denver itself as well, but less so. We buy less properties in like the core of Denver, the Wash Park, City Park, Highlands. Like we buy less stuff there, just because there's not as many distressed sellers.
Yeah.
Like that area has been revitalized and everything's really expensive and people are pretty savvy on their houses, and it's just hard to get deals there, really.
Okay.
There's just we've done one this year in the Highlands. They do exist. There's definitely distressed houses there, but there's just way less than the surrounding areas.
Since we have a lot of manufactured homes here too, and probably also in Wyoming, right? So I know that you do something special with manufactured homes that most people don't.
Yeah, we buy a lot of manufactured homes, actually. We have a couple going right now in Dacono, which is full of them. And so we love buying those. We'll go out to Fort Lupton. Generally, we're finding those in northern Colorado. We'll find them in like Fort Lupton. We'll find them in Fort Morgan. We'll find them in Greeley. We'll find them in Dacono. There, like I said, we have a couple up there right now. And so I love buying those. Sometimes I think maybe what you're referring to is I own or carry people as well, here and there. And so I'll buy these homes, I'll come in and I'll renovate them. And some of them are, if they're pre-1976, it's tough to get a mortgage on them. It's not impossible, it's doable, but it's harder. And so some of those I'll actually own or finance the people. And so we'll give them the loan. We'll become the bank.
Nice.
Kyle, can you define that for us? Because, I'm in the Midwest, so I think manufactured homes might mean something different to me than it would mean to you guys. Can you just tell us what that is?
Yeah, I mean, it's a home that was brought in. It's not stick built.
Brought in on 2 trucks and they put them together?
If it's a double wide, yeah.
They came in on wheels, let's say that, and then they build like a concrete kind of structure underneath and take the wheels off.
And see, that's why I needed to define it, because here in the Midwest, we would call that a mobile home.
Well, we have mobile homes too.
We do have mobile homes.
What's the difference between a mobile home and a manufactured home?
Yeah, the manufactured home is generally affixed to a foundation.
Okay.
There's an actual foundation there that it's affixed to. The mobile home, mobile meaning you could move it. Like you could move it easily. It's not affixed.
And then, is there any weird issues with because I just watched the contracts course, to keep my license, you had to do those classes every year with Colorado, and the contracts course, there's a big deal this year. I noticed in manufacturing homes, they've changed something about it. So it's a lot harder now. As an agent, it's harder for us, I think, to deal with those for some reason. I can't remember right now. I just took the test and believe it or not, I passed.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay.
No, I'm not familiar with that. I mean, sometimes we run into these homes that they call it purged, which means that they have like a DMV title, and those are typically the mobile homes. And so we'll run into those sometimes, and then we'll either have to owner finance with somebody or come in and actually get it purged, which means the land and the house together are combined. It's all on title as one. There's not a separate DMV title like a car.
Yeah.
But we'll buy those as well. We'll buy like the actual mobile homes with the DMV title. As long as there's land. If they're on like in a park with lot rent, we don't want those.
Right. Like they're leasing it and stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
But if there's land underneath them, we'll buy those.
Okay, cool. So was there anything else about Colorado that you think that the agents in Colorado should know?
No, I mean, I think a lot of the stuff not a lot of the stuff, but it's stuff that I have a niche in would be like the stuff that's kind of farther out. Like we'll buy houses like down in the Springs. Like we'll buy stuff in like Peyton, which is a lot of manufactured homes on like 5 acres. We bought a bunch of those down there. We'll buy stuff that just sits out a bit farther, and a lot of investors don't. We'll go up to like Fort Morgan. Yeah, rural stuff for sure.
Yeah, that's unusual. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's a bit of a niche that we've been doing for a while, and I'm fine with them as long as they're not too far away. I'll buy the stuff that sits in the middle of nowhere.
Cool. Do you want to move into North Carolina?
Yeah.
Julie, I think we had a question. Yeah. KG1262. I don't know what your name is. Who are you? Tell us.
I'm Ken Gafka, EXP agent here. I live actually in West Arvada, just north of Golden. So Kyle, we probably ought to get together.
Yeah, you're probably not far apart.
Yeah. So what about mountain homes? Those that have septic wells, that kind of stuff?
Yep, we'll buy those as well. So we've done a couple out in Bailey this year. We've done one down in Larkspur. Yeah, we definitely buy those.
What's your top end of your range though, Kyle?
Generally, I mean, the top end would probably be 600K range. I mean, we're like on the after repair value. We're typically buying stuff that's 600 and less, unless it's a small multifamily, then those numbers go up. Like we'll buy like 4 units, and we'll do parcel reconfigurations where we'll split off each unit and sell them individually. We do stuff like that in Denver, or we'll buy duplexes and split them off and sell them, as condos basically. And so those sometimes cost more, and that price point will be higher, but the individual units will end up landing in my price range, which is the starter home price range, which in Denver, now is $400,000 or $500,000.
Because your buy box says up to 350, which most people, if they see that, will be like, what do you want to do with that in Denver, at least, right? In that area. Yeah.
And we buy a ton of houses in Denver for under 350. But that, by the time we're done with them, they're worth 500.
Yeah.
Nice. Or more. So it's, yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking. So what about North Carolina?
Yeah, North Carolina, we're definitely not as active in, but we're buying in the Raleigh area. I'm out of Denver here, so my main focus is Denver. But I used to I went to college in North Carolina, so I used to live there. And I had a partner here in Colorado that ended up moving back to Raleigh. And so it just made sense. When he moved back, it's like, all right, our model here, like let's replicate it there in Raleigh. And so it's been a couple of years now, maybe 2 years or so. We started buying houses in Raleigh as well.
And I don't know if the agents saw this, but I'll put a link to it in the post when I put this out in our workplace group. But you also made a really nice video for us about when you analyzed a property. It was less than 5 minutes, and you showed how you analyzed a property that was actually in North Carolina. So I will add that for them. They have their own group there. It's for express offers that they've made themselves, the agents. So I'll make sure I post everything in there as well.
Julie, can we put that in his buy box? Can we actually attach it to the North Carolina buy box?
Yeah, if we give Seth the MP4, which I should be able to get from that, then we should be able to put it on his buy box.
Yeah, that might be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. And then I've encouraged Kyle to make videos for us. So that was his first. So maybe he'll make another one that's like, kind of generic, same kind of thing, but just maybe. I also love when you guys walk through a property. Yeah. You tell us what you're thinking, because that really helps agents a lot. So maybe we can get Kyle to do one of those videos.
Yeah, I can do one of those for sure.
And also, we love the before and afters too.
Yeah, I do a lot of those. I try to do one a week. So I try to post one before and after
Okay,
house of the
so
week.
you'll have to tell me where you put those things because then I can encourage agents to look at that.
So Facebook, I put them on Facebook on
Okay.
LVN Real Estate's Facebook page, and
Gotcha.
I post them pretty much every week. I'm pretty
Nice.
consistent with that.
Okay, then I'll find that and I'll share that.
Yeah, cool.
So what's cool is, of course, walking through the product and learning what you're thinking about the product. That's always sweet. But also, what's great insight for agents is the conversations that you're having with sellers.
Mm-hmm.
So, you get somebody that responds to one of your pieces, your mailer or your messaging, what is that conversation sounding like? That's always helpful for agents as well, because, we come at it from a sales perspective, right? We want to sell that home for that seller. And sometimes we have a terrible habit of just kind of vomiting information all over a seller, right?
Yeah.
Before we really ask the right questions to determine what it is they need. So, how does that conversation kind of start with you?
Yeah. So for us, we have sales reps and we have a CRM. And so they kind of have like a template that they go down through, and they're finding out, the main thing they're finding out is, why do they want to sell? What is their reason they want to sell? And kind of digging the motivation, exactly, and digging into that. And so finding out, what do they have going on and how do we solve that problem? I mean, that's what we're always looking for. Can we solve the problem, and does it work for everybody? Is it win-win? Because at the end of the day, it's got to work for everybody involved. And so we're looking at their problem. We're asking them their price and finding out, what do they need to get out of it? How much do they owe? That's also important. What do they owe? Is there enough equity there to make it work? And even if there's not, I mentioned creative deal structuring. There's some creative stuff that we can do to buy these houses if there's not enough equity as well. We're finding out condition, and so that's another thing I know with the EXP offers. That's, you guys have full pictures, and that's really helpful. Oftentimes, really all I need is photos. If I have a good set of photos and it shows all the mechanicals and it shows everything, I can pretty much ballpark a rehab and be like, all right, that's going to cost us 50 grand. And from there, I can back out the numbers and look at the numbers pretty quickly and say, okay, this is something we can work with, or no, it's not. We have to be at X price. And so that's mainly the conversation to answer the question is, what is their motivation? What is their price? Why are they going to sell, and what is their timeline? And then kind of working from there to figure out how we can offer them a solution.
What's the longest that you'll go if they have like a tenant in the property or something? Because we get that question a lot.
What do you mean by that?
So in between like getting to know the seller and then the time they'll would actually sell. Some people want 90 days because they need to buy a house somewhere else before or whatever. So like kind of those contingency type things. Yeah,
that's fine. I mean, we oftentimes buy houses and then we'll do a post-occupancy agreement. And so sometimes they're paying us rent, sometimes they're not. Depends on the situation there. But we'll give them, however long they need, really. Now, if it's super far out, we're not going to give them a year, but we'll give them, we oftentimes give them a month. Usually people need like 2 weeks is usually what people need.
Okay.
But sometimes they need longer, a month or two, and we work with people there and give them time to get out of the house or find their next house.
Excellent. We've got one more question, Julie.
Oh, I didn't. I can't see it because I just see the recording screen. Sorry.
No, that was my question. It was about when you purchase from owner occupants, what do you do in terms of post occupancy and all that? And so you just answered that.
That's funny. We were on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
It's all a negotiation at the end of the day.
Right.
Just trying to. Again, comes down to their needs. Do they have something else they're buying? Do they have something they're renting? Do they need the cash right now? And then they're going to go searching for a house. We're figuring out what do they need, and then we're tailoring our offer around that.
Yeah, I like that you're a problem solver. It's cool. So I did have a question. You were mentioning looking at the photos that we send. So I was going to ask you that, how much time you spend looking at the properties that our agents submit to you.
Yeah, I click through and I see what kind of condition it is. And generally the first thing I do is ask them how much the seller is looking for.
You send them a chat, or do you send an email? What's your process?
I was sending an email, but now I'm sending a chat. Yeah.
Nice.
So I'll send them a message and say, hey, what is your seller looking for price wise on this? And then, if it's worth 300 and they tell me they want 280, I tell them it can't work. It doesn't work. I think for agents, you got to think like an investor a bit on these. And, if the house is worth 300, well, I'm going to, pay 5%, 4 or 5% to sell the house and just commissions. And so just subtract that off right off the bat. On top of that, I have holding costs associated with sitting on that house. And then I got to put money into it and rehab it.
That's exactly. I have a question that says, tell us about how you handle expenses so that agents can understand, what it costs to be an investor. So you're kind of doing that.
Yeah, for sure. Costs. I mean, they're holding costs are a real thing. I mean, you got property taxes don't stop when I buy a house, and so you got to factor that in. What is that costing me a month? I have bank relationships, and so we work off of lines of credit. I'm paying interest on that. What is that costing me a month? Just utilities, you got all the utilities that are factored in there. All this stuff costs me money to sit on this house every month. And so if it takes me 4 months to rehab a house, there's a couple grand there. There's thousands of dollars, depending on the situation and the price of the house, that cost me just to sit on it. And then I got to rehab it, and then on the back end, pretty much every house we sell, we're going to have to do some type of repair to it. Even after we rehab it, the inspectors always find something. Even with new houses, they find something. They always find something. And so we're always fixing a fence or doing this or doing that, or, there's always something that needs repaired at the end. And it's another couple grand. So all these things add up, and it's not just, I think it's tough on our end because people think we're making so much money, but
right. That's why I wanted you to talk about some of the expenses.
They don't see that side, they don't see that, like, just because I'm buying it for 280 and it's worth 300 doesn't mean I'm making 20 grand. If I bought it for 280 and it's worth 300, I'm going to lose money. Right. Yeah. On top of that, I have a lot of employees, and I have project managers, I have crews, I have people that I have to pay to keep this business
does that
going.
mean you're running a business, Kyle?
Exactly.
Imagine that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just something that agents need to think about when they send these properties over. Can the investor make money on this? Like, that's what you got to ask yourself.
And Terry is definitely teaching that in our training. So remember, investors have to make money. That's, so I mean, it's not like it's a surprise to anyone. I just think it's more interesting when you guys tell us some of the expenses, because then people have to be more in reality about all these expenses.
Yeah, I think I hear it all the time. You're telling me you're buying the house for 250 and it's worth 300. You're gonna make 50 grand. No, I'm not. Like, it just doesn't work like that.
That's so funny.
It just doesn't work like that. And I think people see that spread and they forget about all those things in the middle of that spread.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's just, you got to think like an investor. How is this guy going to turn a profit on this?
Yeah, I mean, just you put yourself in the investor's shoes is our point, right? So, if you bought this, would you just leave it how it is and put it back on the market? No, you have to do stuff with it, and it takes time to do that. Contractors and lumber prices are up, like all kinds of things are going on, right? So,
exactly.
Tim, did you ask a question? Because I can't see my chat.
I got a question.
Okay.
So Kyle, are you buy and hold? Are you flipping these? Do you do a little bit of both? And if both, how do you decide?
Yeah, the bulk of our business is flipping. And so most of these houses we're buying, we're rehabbing, and we're selling. I definitely hold properties and buy a bunch of rentals every year. It comes down to the rent and the purchase price. Does it make sense to hold? Like the 4-unit, I'll hold that. That's going to make sense. I'm buying that for 160. I should be able to get the rents up to about $2,500 a month in total, or somewhere around there, maybe give or take. And I'll have to put a chunk of money into it. But if I can get a property, the formula that you hear all the time is the 1% rule. That's, you guys have probably heard of that. If you're buying it for $200,000, your ideal rent is $2,000. Right? Like, that's like the 1% rule. That's really hard to find in Colorado. It just doesn't really happen that often. Not to say it's impossible. We definitely find them, but it's very difficult.
Is that because your rents aren't up there, or?
Yeah, it's the prices are so high now that the rents just the rents just don't equal what you can buy a $500,000 house, but it's only going to rent for $2,200.
Right.
And so I'm not going to hold that as a rental. That makes no sense. If I put a mortgage in place, I'm going to lose money there. I'm not going to make money. And so right now, a lot of the best rentals for me are the stuff that's in the outskirts, stuff that's in Greeley, stuff that's sits a little farther out, and then multifamily units I can make work as well, because those are more so. I'm more so running off a cap rate there rather than looking at what the house is actually worth. Once you get like 4 units and above, you can start running them that way.
Did you have any other questions, Ken?
No, that doesn't.
Cool. Rick had a question, and I can't see it. I saw it come across the screen there, but if you guys can see the chat, Rick has a question. Rick, you can give us your question.
I'm actually on here.
Okay,
oh,
good.
okay, go ahead.
I'm in North Carolina, and I'm not sure which counties you're at. I'm actually unable, but some of us aren't, when it comes to construction, that type of thing, don't really have a really good idea of what something might need. And if it's basic, we do. But when we're looking at that, if we're taking good pictures, how's the best way without having to, for essence of time, without having a contractor come in and look at it, how is the best way to determine an idea of cost? Because you need to know, you said you need to know the repair cost, minus your 75% or whatever.
Yeah. That's tough if you have no experience estimating repairs. That's tough to overcome.
Kyle, do you have some investors kind of have like a price per square foot that's when it's a light renovation like you talked about before? Because maybe we could add that to your buy boxes. There's like a light, a medium, and a heavy renovation. So
yeah, I could come up with something. Let me pull up my calculator here.
Because what would be interesting is kind of to see in the different areas that you buy in. So for example, if we're talking about North Carolina, maybe you'd have a price that you would pay if it's a light renovation, so not much is needed, versus medium with a new kitchen, that type of thing, so that they had a price per square foot and could kind of give some rough math. Because really the point behind that, and Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, the whole point was that we're trying to help our agents set expectations for the sellers.
Yeah, that's true. And, agents historically have a really hard time guesstimating these repairs. And so they kind of feel like they are coming at this blind. I did put a link to a really cool tool that we found that you can do a 14-day free trial. And then after that, it's just a couple bucks a month. But that might help you with estimation as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think in Colorado, if it's an older house, like everything, you think everything needs done, like cabinets need to go, flooring, everything, you could probably be somewhere around $30 a square and be pretty on target. Like that, if it's a 2,000 square foot house, putting 60 grand into it is about reasonable to do everything that you need to do. And it depends it varies, are we moving walls? Are we doing structural? If we're just doing baths and kitchen, baths, kitchens, carpet's not really much of a thing anymore. Usually,
luxury vinyl.
Usually it's LVL, and so you can go roughly around $30 a square. If it's a lighter reno, you can bump that down to 20.
What if it was North Carolina?
It's not a ton different as far as what it's costing us to rehab houses there. It's not a whole lot different. It's a little less, but it's not by much. I think the main reason it's less there is just we don't have to do as high end finishes as we do here in Denver. We can kind of do more of a basic rehab over there in North Carolina.
Home Depot rehab versus
versus just like higher end stuff. I mean, we could put in like a shower surround versus tiling the shower, things like that. Like we can get away with that in North Carolina more so. So that saves cost.
Think we could add that maybe to the notes in your buy box? Yeah, Julie, let's add that so that agents have a good idea of what to serve up, Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle, why don't you think about that and then send us a mail to the express offers team at exprealty.com and let us know what you're thinking on that. And then I'll go in and make sure your buy boxes reflect that.
Okay.
And if there's a price too for heavy, since you're moving walls or things like that, additions or something, if you do that, then let us know what that price would be.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, what we're trying to do, Kyle, is obviously, we want agents to understand that this is a viable solution for them, regardless of the market, conditions. You guys are going to be buying houses, whether we're in a recession, whether we're in no inventory, whether we're in COVID, it doesn't matter. If the agents understand how your model works and how they can utilize you as that checkbook in their back pocket, obviously they're going to have much more success with this program. So.
Yep.
I don't know if anyone else had any questions, but I just had one good one to end with if no one else has any other questions. I think I heard something.
Dale looks like Dale raised his hand, Julie.
Okay.
Go ahead and unmute your mic, Dale. Go for it.
Hey, good morning, guys. Kyle, the question I have, I'm in Missouri to start with, and I'm in a rural area. So I was going to sit back and keep my mouth shut because I was taking in all this good information. But the fact that you buy in Denver and then you'll buy rural homes on 5 acres, help me understand who that guy is so I can find that person here, because I'm in a rural market, definitely have the 3 to 5 acre nice homes that would come into play.
Yes. So do you mean like what type of seller is selling those properties?
Or? Like you.
Your side. What kind
got
of buyer?
Got it.
Because they don't have a buyer in his area, so he's trying to find one.
Well,
yeah, that's
have
tough.
one in the central Missouri, more of a rural area. When you said that, I was just curious why, you have an interest in both markets. Who is that guy that would have the interest in the rural market? If you can elaborate any. If you can't, I understand.
Yeah, I mean, I think more so it's probably guys that are doing a ton of flips and they're hunting for inventory to keep everybody busy. And so they're willing to start pushing out in those areas. I know for me, that's the exact reason. I need inventory to keep the machine going. And so I'm willing to go out and push out into those areas. I would just look for someone that's doing a lot of rehabs and that kind of cover a big area.
You can find, Terry, like in Reno, places like that.
I was gonna say, Dale, I've got a kind of a suggestion for you. So if you've got like a title company in your area that you can reach out to somebody and say, look, can you do a search on the entire county? Okay, and I'm assuming your county would have a more densely populated town, right? Do a search on the whole county for like the last 90 days and see if you can identify any corporate buyers in that list of sold properties, because the corporations are probably your institutional investors, right? And you may see a pattern develop of this same corporation kind of buying over and over again. And then you can just search it on your Secretary of State website and creep them and find a phone number and reach out and say, hey, we've got this express offers program, or maybe you've just got a property you want to talk to them about.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it for sure.
Glad you approved,
Great, guys.
Kyle.
I appreciate it. I'll let you finish up here. I just wanted to ask that question before we got off here.
No, it's a good question, and other people might be thinking the same thing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was going to end with this unless anyone else has anything else.
I think this has been fantastic, by the way, Kyle. This has been one of our best ones yet. So awesome. I appreciate you.
Kyle's so chill. That's why one of the reasons I wanted to have him is I just think he's like he's well-rounded, right? He's smart. He'll explain everything to us. He's very patient. So that's why I was hoping to have him on here. And also, we need to do something. We haven't even had a Colorado closing, which makes me look bad.
I don't get it. I don't get a ton of ESP stuff coming through.
I know. So hopefully that happy hour will help in a couple weeks. So we'll set that up. But okay, so for the last question, I wanted to ask you, from the property submissions that you've received so far in all 3 states at all, what advice would you give our agents on giving you, really good property submissions?
I think the best advice is to find out if that price and if they're willing to sell at a discount. Like if they want market value, I'm not the guy. Like I can't make it work. That's the best advice I could give. Find out the price and like.
Is there any like specific questions they should be narrowing it down? Should they just be directly asking them what's their bottom line? I mean, what's the best way to get to that? So they don't
I think so. Like what's your bottom line for a cash investor to purchase this property? The cash guy is not going to ask you for repairs. He's going to be flexible with you. He's going to buy it as quick as you want or as late as you want. He's going to give you enough time to move. He's not going to rush you. He's going to be easy to work with. That's what a cash investor does. Is that what you need? Or do you want to put this on the market? And do you want to deal with all the inspection stuff and people walking through your house and everything that comes with that? If they're looking for, it's distress. If there's no distress, if they don't need to sell it, they're probably not going to be willing to take a discount from an investor. And I think that's the main thing to find out. Do you need to sell your house like yesterday? Okay, I got an option for you. And then we go from there. That's usually who we're dealing with.
I think that's perfect. Did you want to end this, Terry?
Of course, I'd be happy to. So, guys, you know, we are working hard every single day to hopefully help you connect the dots, to help you understand the value of this program, to get to know our investors, to understand, you know, look, these guys got a bad rap in the marketplace. And, you know, sometimes it's justified, most of the time it's not. You know, our institutional investors are just trying to make a living like we are. You know, they're not stealing the equity from the sellers. They're not trying to take anything. They have expenses and employees as well. So I'm going to tell you, you know, learn the program, understand who your investor is. It's not going to work 100% of the time. It's not even going to work 50% of the time. But if you can provide a convenience option for your seller when they need it, you are going to look like a hero. So Kyle, thank you, thank you, thank you. We appreciate you. We appreciate your service. We appreciate the work you do. And hopefully we can rally our agents to get some deals served up your way.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Appreciate it as well.
All right.
And everybody can just